Good afternoon, everyone. Before we speak about today's opera announcement, I want to first address a unspeakable, cowardly murder of a 69-year-old woman that took place this morning at Southern Baptist Church. A dedicated member and staff member of Southern Baptist, one of our anchor faith institutions in Baltimore, had her life taken in the church by a coward and scum. This is not okay, and none of us should be okay. Her family is 4 generations strong at Southern, and all of our hearts should be with them. Solving this unfathomable, unthinkable, cowardly act is now priority number 1 for the Baltimore Police Department, and I have the utmost faith that our great homicide detectives will absolutely close this case. But we all should be looking to help. That's the truth. I don't care if this person is your son, your husband, your boyfriend, your daughter, your uncle, your aunt. You should turn this person in. Because if we're okay with someone this cowardly, murdering someone that could be your grandmother, that could be someone else's grandmother, then what are we willing to stand up for? No one should be okay with this. Anybody that knows anything, if this is your homeboy, turn your homeboy in. Tell him to man up. If this is your uncle, tell him to man up. If it is the person down the street, tell them to man the hell up. That's the reality. I don't want to hear about what the police are going to do, because this is Baltimore, and more specifically, this is East Baltimore. Someone knows who did this. So speak up or shut up and get out the way and let people do their job. That's the reality. We cannot live in a city where we solely rely on other folks to solve our problems. We cannot allow folks to murder our seniors and just think that it's okay to go post on Instagram and say, well, damn, yo, that's messed up. No, do something. Say something. Go talk to somebody. If you know something, say something. If you're scared to say something to the police, say it to me. I'll say it. Because we cannot continue to allow folks to do that in a church. Not outside the church, not walking in the street, in a church. Think about how brazen it is. Think about the lack of care and life that someone has to do to a senior in a church. That's what we all should be thinking about today. Not allowing this to be taken out of context for anything else other than we had a senior murdered in a church. That's all that matters. And all that should matter for all of us is how the hell all of us are going to find out who did it. Mr. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, let me just say that on behalf of the members of the police department, our thoughts and our prayers are with the family of this victim, the pastor, and members of Southern Baptist, the pastor who is not only a friend to the Baltimore Police Department, but a personal friend to me. And so our thoughts and prayers are with the entire Southern Baptist family. Without going into too many details of this ongoing homicide investigation, what we can tell you is that our victim entered the church, unlocked the door, and entered as normal this morning somewhere around 6 o'clock to perform her normal duties and to allow contractors to enter the church, which is under a renovation project. Somewhere around 6:50, we know she was found inside of the bathroom there in her work area, dead, where she had been attacked. I am with the mayor. If somebody saw something, heard something, or knows something, please call us right away. Or you can do it anonymously by calling Crime Stoppers at 1-866-7-LOCK-UP. But we know for a fact people were around. Someone knows, heard, or saw something. We implore you to call us. We beg you to call us right now so we can not only hold this person or persons accountable, but we can bring justice and calm and closure to this family. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner, and good afternoon again, everyone. We are here today in the Broadway East community outside of the Yo Baltimore, that's Youth Opportunity. For those who don't know, East Side Center for my administration's next announcement related to Baltimore's American Rescue Plan Act allocation. Actually, this is where I got my computer for college, at the Eastside Baltimore Yo Center as a Yo alum. I am joined today by our Chief Recovery Officer, Shemai Kearney, our Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, Ted Carter, City Administrator Chris Shorter, Jason Perkins Cohen, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, Colin Tarber of the Baltimore Development Corporation. I was hoping that was Colin's baby, but it's not. Paul Taylor of the Mayor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Development, Damon Millard of the Family League, Donna Jusoya of Baltimore Office of Promotion and Arts, Ha-Suk Chung of the Baltimore Civic Fund, and last but not least, Al Hutchison of Visit Baltimore. Thank you all for being here. Today, as you know, the administration has announced significant investments that address what I like to call Baltimore's dual public health crises, $80 million toward our continued navigation of the COVID-19 pandemic, and $50 million toward our violence prevention efforts and the ongoing violence epidemic in Baltimore. Today, we build on that effort with a historic investment focused on putting Baltimoreans back to work and providing a lifetime to our small local businesses that have struggled to stay afloat during the pandemic. We are here today at the Eastside Yo Center at the historic Baltimore Community Action Coalition. Youth Opportunity Baltimore serves youth between the ages of 17 and 24 who may have been disconnected from school or the workforce, linking them to community-based educational, workforce preparation, and personal development services. I know our Yo members were here. Everybody, wave to everybody. Our Yo members are here today. Yo's youth development model builds on the existing strengths of each young person they serve and connects them with caring adults. I know firsthand the benefit of Youth Opportunity Baltimore. I was a member of Youth Opportunity Baltimore, and as I said earlier, when I was preparing for college, it was at this center that I got my first computer and received a whole host of support that set me up for success in the future. I am thrilled to stand here today as mayor, but more importantly, as a Yo graduate, announcing an investment that will allow centers like this one to expand their reach and better serve our community. I am focused on investing Baltimore's American Rescue Plan Act dollars in an equitable, community-focused way. The investment announced today is all about how we will put Baltimoreans back to work while offering that lifeline to our most vulnerable small and local businesses. And to that note, today I'm announcing a combined $55 million towards workforce and economic recovery efforts here in Baltimore. We know that the public health emergency has disproportionately affected small businesses, local artists, families, and children, and of course the tourism and hospitality industries here in Baltimore. That's why we are using funding from ARP to provide relief to these communities and help Baltimoreans hit hardest by the COVID-19 emergency. The Mayor's Office of Employment Development will receive $30 million over 4 fiscal years to expand workforce development efforts and job placements for young people and disadvantaged job seekers. This investment also includes the creation of a $25 million Economic Recovery Fund, which will provide a lifeline to the city's small local businesses, nonprofit organizations, and artists and creators through a lens of equity. Now, today's announcement is big, so let me first start with the $30 million for our workforce development and job opportunity investment. This allocation will prioritize unemployed and underemployed residents as well as our most disadvantaged job seekers. To make that more simply put, it's the folks that need it the most, the folks that need to be able to work and provide for them and their families. This includes residents returning home from incarceration, opportunity youth, and recipients of public assistance. The investment includes $5.2 million for Higher Up, a transition jobs program within the city and quasi-agencies. This program will offer 6-month transitional positions at $15 per hour to enable at least 220 low-income residents to earn wages and support the economic recovery of their households. The birds agree. The Higher Up team will deliver public services that support a cleaner, safer, more welcoming city. The investment also includes $8.9 million for Train Up, which will offer occupational skills training, industry-recognized credentials, and $100 per week stipends. This will benefit nearly 1,000 residents to upskill and obtain jobs in high-demand industries in the region, from biotechnology to business services, from healthcare to information technology. The investment will also provide $8.4 million to YouthWorks, allowing Baltimore City to serve 4,000 young people over 2 summers. Additionally, these dollars will be used to create the first ever year-round YouthWorks Academy to benefit at least 100 young people during the school year. And finally, today's workforce investment includes $2.9 million in support programming and wage subsidies. We will be providing behavioral health, legal services, adult education, financial empowerment counseling, and career navigation to residents participating in the Hire Up and Train Up programs. And we will also be providing wage subsidies for small minority and women-owned businesses that hire residents impacted by the pandemic. These projects will improve chances of economic successes for those who were systematically disadvantaged even before COVID-19 showed up on our doorstep. And we all know that they were also disproportionately impacted by COVID. I look forward to working very closely with the Mayor's Office of Employment Development as we increase access to opportunity, promote local job growth, support low-income households, benefit historically underinvested in neighborhoods, and create wealth in Black and brown communities. And now I'd like to turn it over to Director Perkins Cohen for more information. Jason?
Could have stood there and listened to that all day. Mayor Scott, thank you, really thank you for making this historic investment. It is the largest investment in workforce in the city's history. And, while it's on paper, it's going to say, an investment in MOED, it's really not. It's an investment in the citizens of Baltimore. And so I just want to thank you for making that investment. Mayor Scott walked down the different strategies. I just want to see how we can put it all together. These are not standalone initiatives. These are made and built to work together, to work in concert together, to advance our mission to bring economic justice to Baltimore City. To us, that means creating an equitable workforce system that responds to the needs of all residents and provides viable economic opportunities, especially to those who have been generationally and systemically disadvantaged. So what does that look like? As Mayor Scott said, it starts with jobs, a J-O-B. And our Hire Up program will pay residents $15 an hour. It'll follow in the footsteps of FDR's New Deal and our own Baltimore Health Corps, and it will create public sector jobs that will make our city safer, cleaner, and more welcoming. We have jobs right now.
Say that again.
We have jobs right now. Now, jobs are critical, and we're all about jobs, but they don't always lead to careers, and ours need to. So our residents want and deserve a pathway to careers that provide for their families. Train Up is the biggest investment in training in our city's history. We're investing in adults, and we're investing in our youth with occupational trainings that provide career pathways to living wages. And the following industries will receive training: healthcare, construction, manufacturing, IT, automotive, and hospitality, all vital industries to our city, all are growing. Now, I want to make this real, and so I want to talk about a few recipients who've already benefited from these programs. One of our residents went to work for the Department of Rec and Parks. It was such a good fit, they offered her a permanent job where she's working literally as we speak. Another resident is a returning citizen. His dream is to work for the city, and he's very passionate about it. But he was having trouble getting his foot in the door. Through Hire Up, he began working with the Department of Public Works full-time, also working as we speak, and he's determined for even more. So during the weekend, working during the day, overtime at night, during the weekend, he's going to school to get his commercial driver's license. In January, he hopes to begin driving for the city. And then I want to talk about how this connects to youth. Last summer, we placed 3 high school students, one from Mervo, in a pre-apprenticeship program with Bluestone Communications and the Baltimore Electrical National Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee, each at a salary of $15 an hour. They were learning to pull cable and assist certified installation technicians. they joined 6 adults who were in the same apprenticeship program. With this investment, not only are we going to be able to bring those young people back to increase their training and advance their career, we're going to be able to allow more young people that same opportunity. It's really not possible to emphasize how critical and life-changing these investments really are. And again, I want to thank you for that. And in our effort to make sure that every resident has the opportunity for meaningful work and a hopeful future. And I look forward to sharing our success. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason, and thank you for the work that you and that MOE does each and every day to help folks figure out and be better with themselves in their career. And now for our second investment of the day, I am thrilled to be announcing the creation of a $25 million economic recovery fund to support businesses and communities hit hardest by the pandemic. This fund will be co-facilitated by the BDC, the Baltimore Development Corporation, Family League of Baltimore, the Baltimore Office of Promotion and Arts, the Baltimore Civic Fund, and Visit Baltimore. These 5 agencies will support in technical assistance, will receive support in technical assistance and capacity building associated with this fund. And let's talk about what's included in this $25 million economic recovery fund. BDC's $11.7 million will support technical assistance and more than 330 direct grants for small business relief, with a goal of awarding 70% of grants to Black and Brown-owned businesses. Baltimore Civics funds $8.3 million investment will aid more than 300 nonprofit organizations and will prioritize minority and women-led organizations serving Baltimore's most underserved residents. Visit Baltimore's $2.5 million investment will aid more than 40 hotels and B&Bs in our city, as we know they were deeply impacted by the pandemic. And Family League's $2 million investment will grant relief for an estimated 160 child care providers, prioritizing those that did not receive aid in 2020. And finally, BOPA's $500,000 investment will support grants to more than 100 individual local artists, prioritizing minority and women artists and supporting local artists both in direct grants and capacity building. So to talk more about what this investment means, I'd like to turn it over to Colin, Tarber, President and CEO of Baltimore Development Corporation, and Paul Taylor, Director of the Mayor's Office of Minority and Women-Owned Businesses. First, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo Director Perkins-Cohen's sentiment that, 1, thank you for your investment, and 2, this is by far the most significant investment we've seen in small businesses. So I want to thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank Deputy Mayor Carter for his support and encouragement in deploying these funds. My name is Colin Tarber, President and CEO of the Baltimore Development Corporation. So pleased to be here. Baltimore's small business community, especially BIPOC-owned businesses, were significantly affected by COVID-19. These businesses had more challenges accessing federal and state aid during the pandemic and lacked resources to pivot their business operations to accommodate restrictions. To assist the city's more vulnerable businesses, the BDC, with funding from the Small Business Support Fund, launched the Small Business Technical Assistance Network. This is a TA network consisting of 19 different partners who help businesses navigate the various federal, state, and local assistance programs. To date, the TA network has served more than 3,000 Baltimore's small businesses, of which 65% are owned by people of color, and we've helped them access approximately $40 million of financial assistance. Many of these businesses could not successfully apply for federal PPP program or other grants without our technical assistance. We heard time and time again that without the work of BDC and our TA partners and the funding provided by the mayor, these businesses would have closed. The Economic Recovery Fund allocation will enable the TA network to continue to provide much-needed assistance to businesses. Even though COVID-related business assistance is winding down, small businesses still need resources to fully recover. The TA network, through working with these small businesses, also identified many other gaps in the need for support. Many of these small businesses needed e-commerce, online training. There's a need for legal assistance, financial accounting assistance. And so this funding that we're going to have is also going to enable us to support small businesses in those professional services who will be matched up with small businesses in need of those services. So we're very grateful for this funding, which will allow us to continue this important work. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Paul Taylor, who we've been doing this in partnership, so it's great to be here together at the podium. Paul?
Good afternoon. This is Paul. My name is Paul Taylor, and I run the Mayor's Office of Small and Minority Business. And Mayor, I want to thank you because this work, this important work, is something that we have not seen in the city for many, many years. And so I want to thank you for your commitment. But I want to really thank you because one of the things that the mayor has made clear to all of our agencies is that equity is the center of the work that we do. And so we've been focused on that equity. I'm not going to repeat many of the things that I was going to say Colin stole, but that's okay. So I'm not going to repeat a lot of that. But I will say this one simple thing, and this is that in all the years that we've been doing this work, it's been very rare for all of the organizations, those 19 organizations that Colin mentioned, that come together and really understand that we can't do this alone. We have to do this together, and we cannot remain in our silos to do this work. And so the mission and the things that we're doing now is all centered around equity, is all centered around making sure that we can reach the small business community that we probably all would not have reached before. So we're doing it together, and this is why it's very, very important for the work that we're doing. So I want to thank you for allowing us to serve the citizens of Baltimore. Thank you.
Thank you both. So, and now we will bring up our other partners in this order. We'll first have Damon from the Family League, followed by Donna from Bopa High Sook, and then finally Al. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know I always like to invoke your mentor, Congressman Elijah Cummings. They'll always say, our children are the messages to the future that we will not see. And in this case, child care providers are the front line for introducing our society's most precious asset to a quality learning environment. Since March of 2020, this has all taken place while already navigating very slim and thin margins as it relates to keeping their doors of operation open. Met with increased overhead, shrinking attendance, these stewards of care have been present to address the learning loss worsened when schools were forced to close. You might ask yourself, well, what does this have to do with economic recovery? What does child care clearly have to do with that? Well, the context is, Maryland Family Network reported in 2018 that a lack of reliable child care disrupts the productivity of working parents and costs business and the state's economy $2 billion a year. In 2018, look it up, the Counting Our Losses report, researchers from Johns Hopkins and Loyola University in Louisiana saw Marylanders for an inadequate child care system revealed that employee absence, turnover due to child care issues cost Maryland employers $2.4 billion, with a reduction of $1.3 billion in the statewide economic output, all resulting into a shortfall of $117 million. That's the context. The perspective is when we did this work with the city and working with city leaders and our partners through the Early Childhood Advisory Committee, we stood up a $3.7 million child care stability fund in 2020. The thing that I remember most in 2020 was being on the phone with a child care provider who was holding back tears and said, Mr. Millard, I don't know what I'm going to do. Either I'm going to stay in business, go further in debt, and maybe have to go into bankruptcy. I said, well, you know, obviously it's a very difficult decision that you have to make, but I hear the kids in the background. And she said, but the need in the community is still there. So in the meanwhile, well, who are you serving? Well, the parents are essential workers. They're registered nurses working right over at Johns Hopkins. They're lab technicians. As a matter of fact, in a lot of cases, they are clerks in grocery stores that they don't have the ability to take off. And in some cases, they work for our Department of Public Works and are taking up and collecting our solid waste and recycling each and every single week. So, Mr. Millard, I really don't have a choice. So, Mayor, I really thank you today for one, not only for your leadership, but also understanding the dual aspects of the vision, that there are parallels between workforce and also child care providers. And thank you for sending that message to a future that we will not see.
Good afternoon. When the COVID-19 health crisis closed galleries, theaters, music venues, collaborative spaces, and put a pause on festivals and public events, it abruptly cut off the expression and financial support of Baltimore's creative community. It also spurred those of us in the arts, corporate and philanthropic communities, as well as individuals who contributed from their own pockets, to work together to launch an emergency fund that would provide a modicum of relief to Baltimore's professional artists. Baltimore thrives on the energy of our creative community. Without incomes or audiences, Baltimore was in jeopardy of losing a vibrant economic driver of our local economy, as well as a significant part of the heart and soul of our city. And today, like many other sectors of the economy across our city and the country, the creative community in Baltimore still struggles to recover from the effects of COVID-19 health crisis. As the city's Arts Council, BOPA submitted a proposal to use funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to provide direct economic relief for individual artists in Baltimore City. The city approved an award of $500,000 to fund Baltimore City Artist Recovery Grant Award Program. BOPA will administer the federally funded program on behalf of the city. This award will provide $3,500 grants to individual artists and creatives to help support their livelihood that were demonstratively impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. And while $3,500 doesn't sound like a lot, it is a lifeline for many artists in our city. The funds will be disseminated equitably across the city with an increased focus on areas with a demonstrated need. More information on this grant for those artists who are interested in applying can be found on BOPA's website, promotionandarts.org. BOPA's passion and purpose is ensuring that Baltimore creatives continue to thrive regardless of community or discipline. To do that, we need to invest in the cultural entrepreneurs of Baltimore City. With these funds, Mayor Scott's administration demonstrates its commitment to individual artists and working and living in Baltimore. BOPA is committed, and as CEO, I am committed to using these economic recovery funds paired with the energy and expertise that powered our grassroots emergency relief fund at the onset of the pandemic, because the arts matter here in Baltimore. The financial and technical investment we make today will maintain and advance the arts, an essential business sector and a fundamental component of the health and the future of our city. Thank you.
I have to get this down even for me. Good afternoon. My name is Haesuk Chung. I am the president and CEO of the Baltimore Civic Fund. There's been a lot of recognition of the mayor's support, and I want to say the theme that I am most struck with is that this mayor is committing to our most precious commodity in the city, which is our human capital and our residents. I don't think we've paused to really recognize the level of investments that mayor has made for our residents, and I'm here to say that we are thrilled to continue to support our nonprofit community. And I want to also thank Director Kearney and her staff for their unwavering support and stewardship of the ARPA dollars. I know it's not an easy task. The Baltimore Civic Fund plays a unique role in our city. We are the fiscal sponsor for many of the city's programs. We serve as the financial backbone for many of the mayoral initiatives that we've had to be quick to pivot and lift up. Last year, when the pandemic hit, we saw our nonprofits step up in ways that they've never been asked before. Baltimoreans were suffering. Despite the changes that the world turned upside down and radically changed their way that they had to reach our residents, they provided the most critical services: housing, food, shelter, mental health services. They adapted, yet we did not follow. Many of us did not follow, but this mayor did. We continued to serve and launched the Nonprofit Relief Fund. And to date, we've invested over $7 million, investing in over 160 nonprofits, recognizing not only are they part of the critical system of the economic recovery, but also a critical lifeline for many of our residents that are often left behind. And as this mayor has said, this is about economic recovery that includes everybody, and everybody will win. Under Mayor Scott's leadership, the Economic Recovery Fund will continue to expand. Part of our work in the nonprofit sector is to bolster organizations in our communities at large. Mayor Scott knows that our nonprofits are doing incredibly important work and really recognizes the community-centered approach and the equitable distribution of services that we all need in every sector of our community. And with that, we continue to provide technical assistance. I know many of our nonprofits are anxiously waiting, so we look forward to all of the information being out on our website. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Good afternoon. My name's Al Hutchinson, President and CEO at Visit Baltimore. And let me first start, like everyone has said, to really thank Mayor Scott and the administration for their support with this American Rescue Plan money. I want to also thank Deputy Mayor Carter for his support of Visit Baltimore. The travel and tourism industry here in Baltimore City, pre-pandemic, 27 million people visited the city. Almost $10 million went into the direct coffers of Baltimore City. Close to 86,000 people were employed in this industry. March 2020 happened. The entire world changed in travel and tourism. Here in Baltimore City, here in the United States, and around the world. Everything changed. Now is the time for us to really do the payback. You should know that the majority of the folks who work in this industry are black and brown people. It's a mom that lives right here in East Baltimore, raising her family, that works in one of these hotels in Baltimore City. It's a dad who lives in West Baltimore, trying to educate his kids, sending them to school, that works in a hotel in Baltimore City. There's a young kid who goes to college at Coppin or Morgan State that's working part-time at a hotel. A lot of these folks were impacted when COVID hit. They lost their jobs. They were out of work. And they were concerned about, how do I pay my rent? How do I pay my mortgage? How do I continue to send my kid to school? We should also know that the majority of those black and brown people that work in the hospitality industry, some are housekeepers, some are painters, some are accountants, some are general managers of hotels, some run HR departments in hotels, and some even own hotels in Baltimore City. This is a very diverse community that arguably, prior to the pandemic, was the third revenue-generating business in Baltimore City. It's an economic engine. So now with this $2.5 million investment, thanks to Mayor Scott, we're going to be able to put people back to work. This money will be used to give our hotel industry optimism, give them hope that things will begin to change for the better. It's all about the people. It's not about bricks and mortar. This money will be used in a great way to help the residents in at Johns Hopkins, right up the street, to bring people back to work. This is a job recovery initiative that we have to really take seriously in this community. We have to reopen the travel and tourism industry in Baltimore City, not just because it drives revenue here, but the most important part is it brings people back to work. So that mom and that dad and that young student that I mentioned earlier, they begin to have hope again. They know that Baltimore City is concerned about their well-being. And what's going to happen with this $2.5 million as we reopen this economy? We're going to give people faith again that Baltimore City is one of the greatest American cities in this country. And we're going to go to work. We're going to bring people back to work. We're going to begin to make money again back in this industry. And we're going to put Baltimore City at this rightful place of being recognized truly as one of the greatest American cities in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Al, for all of your partnership and all of your great work, and also for always being the best dressed member of the cabinet. This investment today demonstrates the partnership that the mayor's office wants to continue building with city agencies, quasi agencies, and nonprofit organizations across the city through ARPA funding, and will prioritize, again, minority-owned, led, women-owned, led, local and small businesses and nonprofits throughout the city. Each organization will announce upcoming application windows and are committed to providing needed aid to awardees as quickly as possible. In some, this package will directly benefit disadvantaged job seekers, those, of course, impacted by COVID-19, our young people through quality workforce development and job opportunities. Our Economic Recovery Fund will make much-needed capital available to Baltimore businesses, artists, creators, and caretakers through a lens of equity. As always, my administration is committed to transparency in this process and partnership. I also want to recognize a lot of city council staffs, but I think that the council, one of the council district staffs that I know is the most dedicated, because I've known both of them for many years, but see them everywhere I go in East Baltimore, from Councilman Glover's office today, the staff of the 13th district, all of our council members, to work sure that we are working together to make this money go to work for Baltimoreans. I would like to remind everyone that the details about the investments we are making today and the ones we've made before can be found at arp.baltimorecity.gov. And with that, we will close and take a few questions.
I'd just like to ask, could we start with questions about this historic investment, but we're happy to be able to answer some questions about East Baltimore as well.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Hey.
I know that other investments talked about using some of the money to hire additional staff members for the various agencies. Are you worried about using this one-time funding to expand city government and put the city in a financial burden once that money is gone?
So I think what we will always say, it's about making sure that we are limiting that. I think we've been very clear about that. You hear about, hold on. Mackenzie, I think that was because your question was off topic, but
I think this is on topic, right?
I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you.
This time?
No, I'm messing with you. No, we know, right? We're being very clear to agencies and the folks behind me and the other agency folks that we know in many cases we have to do that. When you're talking about, Mackenzie, spending this amount of money that we're going to have to spend for these agencies, you need people to actually do that, right? So it's about making sure that we are not solely using the money to go to build staff. This is not what this money is for. But we will be irresponsible if we think that we're going to add the amount of money and responsibility on our existing overworked city staff already. We have to balance it out, and we're balancing out in a way that will make it available for us to have these dollars make the impact that we want it to.
What happens to those staff members that are hired using this money once that money is gone?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple things, right? You think about, as we're going through, as you know, we're going through looking at city government, looking at how we reorganize, how we re-strategize, how we spend our money. Those decisions are going to be impacted by that too, the amount of money we're able to save and things that we're doing as we look at our city government from top to bottom. As you and I have talked many times, we know that city government has been very outdated, right? And when we're going through that process of finding efficiencies and effectiveness that we can now correct, that's how we'll deal with that issue as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, amen.
Good afternoon.
Hey, ma'am.
My question is about a piece of legislation introduced by Nick Mosby yesterday. He wants to use $200 million of ARPA funds to pay for a housing package, which includes a dollar house program. My question is twofold. First, what do you make of it? And second, for Director Kearney, do you think ARPA funding could be used to pay for that program?
Well, Director, you don't have to answer. First, I'll say that this administration was already in the process of preparing a plan to use ARPA funds, focus on housing, affordable home ownership, and support for our legacy residents in our historically redlined cities and neighborhoods throughout the city. This is something that we were already doing. That announcement will be made early in the year and maybe even sooner. But we will, as always, carefully consider anything offered by the City Council, and we'll move forward that way appropriately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question about the East Baltimore incident
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
morning. You said that this was a priority number one for the Baltimore Police Department. Do you think that sends a particularly frustrating message to family members of other incidents who have also had family members killed in the city who are still waiting for their case to be solved?
I had a feeling you would ask that question, and I think that if you were from Baltimore and knew Baltimore neighborhoods, and you go into Baltimore barbershops and ask them that question, they would tell you this is a 60-something-year-old woman. This is somebody's mother, somebody's grandmother, right? And when you know Baltimore culture, you know that there are certain things that are always going to be looked at in a very deep way. Our detectives are going to work every case. As you very well know, despite that you guys don't like reporting on that, we're clearing more cases than we have in many, many years in Baltimore City, right? But when you're talking about a senior citizen murdered in a church, I know some guys who I grew up with who are cold hard killers. Never in their life would they go into church and murder somebody, right? That's the understanding that you guys have to start to understand about some of this stuff that's happening here. And that's what I would say. We're going to close every single case that we can. Everyone is important. But we also have to draw the line in the sand when you're talking about our seniors and our young people. Thank you.